stories only God could write, true testimonies of faith, miracles, revelations, life-changing encounters, the missionary, and the power of God in action. Get ready to be moved, to be inspired, and to renew your hope and your faith.
Have you ever seen something happen that just doesn't make sense? A moment when you know God's power is strong enough to fix a problem, but something else, something unseen, just holds it back? That's the mystery we start with today. Our story takes place in a beautiful, artsy town called Asheville, in the mountains of North Carolina. It's a place where people love to create beautiful things with their hands. That's where we meet Clara Reyes. She is 72 years old, with bright eyes and beautiful silver hair. But her spirit was completely crushed, not by her age, but by the condition of her hands. Clara was a master quilter. She could take tiny pieces of cloth and turn them into warm, colorful stories. But for the last 7 years, that joy had been stolen. She had severe, painful arthritis and nerve damage in her fingers and wrists. The pain was like tiny, hot needles constantly pushing into her joints, especially when she tried to hold a needle or a cup of coffee. She couldn't do the work she loved. Her quilting frame, which used to be the heart of her cozy sunroom, now stood dusty and quiet, like a silent monument to everything she had lost. Clara felt useless. Her hands, which once gave her identity and brought her so much peace, now felt like heavy, stiff clubs. She rarely left her big, comfortable chair. Her husband, George, who was around the same age, tried his best to help her, but Clara's pain had turned her heart hard. Years ago, a small disagreement about money had grown into a huge, painful silence between them. Clara held onto her hurt like a precious treasure, refusing to speak kindly to George or their only daughter, Eliza, who lived in nearby Charlotte. Clara truly believed she was the one who deserved the apology, so her hands stayed stiff, not just physically but spiritually. Then came the turning point. A local church sent over a missionary who was staying in the area, Sister Anna. Anna is 35, a woman with a strong, yet gentle spirit, wearing a modest yellow dress and a beautiful white lace veil on her head. She saw Clara's painful, twisted hands and her sad eyes. Sister Anna sat down next to Clara and spoke with simple kindness. "Clara, I know Jesus can heal you. Would you let me just say a quick prayer over your hands?" Clara sighed. What did she have to lose? "Go ahead, dear," she said, managing a small, pained smile. "Maybe it'll help me hold a fork again." Anna took Clara's stiff, gnarled hands in hers. Anna's hands felt warm and full of life. Anna didn't shout or make a fuss. She prayed with quiet, absolute certainty. She asked God's power to flow and command the pain to leave Clara's fingers and wrists. As Anna prayed, Clara felt the most amazing sensation. A rush of warm, tingling liquid flooding her arms, all the way down to her fingertips. The sharp, burning pain seemed to shrink away, getting smaller and quieter. Clara's eyes flew open in shock. She could feel her fingers moving. Hope, huge and overwhelming, filled her heart. "I'm healed," she thought joyfully. But that joy lasted only a few seconds. Suddenly, the warmth stopped, hit by a crushing coldness. A heavy, stiff pressure, much worse than the arthritis, rushed in. It felt like her hands were being covered in cold, hard plaster. The joints that had just started to move now locked up tighter than before. Clara cried out in surprise and pain, pulling her hands back quickly. Sister Anna, who had been praying with a beautiful, peaceful look on her face, instantly stopped. Her eyes opened, and her expression was serious, almost worried. She looked at Clara, then she looked deeply troubled. "It didn't work," Clara whispered, the tears of disappointment starting to fall. Anna shook her head slowly. "Clara, the healing came. I felt the power, but something stopped it. It wasn't the arthritis. This is a very old lock, a deep-seated darkness that stopped the blessing right at the threshold. It's connected to your hands, but it's not from your body." Anna looked at the empty, silent quilting frame in the corner of the room. "The power is here, Clara, but the door is locked from the inside. We have to find out what you are hiding that has enough power to stop God's grace." Clara was left heartbroken, terrified, and completely confused. What dark secret was powerful enough to block a miracle? Sister Anna didn't leave. She came back to Clara's house in Asheville every day at the same time. This time, she wasn't just praying, she was listening. Anna knew the spiritual fight was connected to Clara's personal choices. The pain in Clara's hands hadn't just stopped her from quilting. It had stopped her from being kind, from reaching out, and from fixing the broken parts of her family. The Bible tells us that unforgiveness is a poison, Anna explained gently one afternoon, her yellow blouse making a bright spot in the otherwise dim room. It holds you prisoner, Clara. And a prison keeps the good things out, even God's healing. Clara was still stubborn. She insisted that she was the victim, that George had hurt her first, and that she didn't deserve to be in pain. I've been praying all my life, Sister Anna. If God wants to heal me, He just needs to do it. Anna sikhetsetli. The power is always ready, Clara. But the curse only stays active because you are still doing the same thing that started it. This phrase, doing the same thing that started it, confused Clara. But then a quiet memory, a whisper from her childhood in Asheville, surfaced in her mind. It was a dark, hushed story about a deep, bad family secret. It was about her great-great-grandmother, a woman who was a famous craftswoman in the early 1900s. She became fiercely jealous of a rival who had much better hands for fine embroidery work. In her rage, the ancestor secretly destroyed the rival's tools and even used cruel, dark means to cause permanent stiffness in the rival's hands, so that person could never create or earn money again. The specific, wicked sin was stopping someone's ability to work with their hands. Clara shivered. She realized that the curse, or the bad pattern, was still active because of her own current actions. She was using her stiff hands as a shield to refuse all work of kindness. She wouldn't write the letter to Eliza to mend the relationship. She wouldn't take George's hand to share a moment of peace. Her pride, her refusal to use her hands for apology, was the signature on the old, bad agreement. She was keeping the curse alive. One evening, after Anna left, the pain in Clara's hands was so bad she cried into her pillow. She closed her eyes, and a flood of memories came back. She remembered the petty fights with George, the angry words she used to push him away, and the terrible pride that made her stand stiffly and watch Eliza drive away to Charlotte, heartbroken. Clara knew the truth. The physical pain was terrible, but the spiritual pain of her cold, hard heart was worse. She struggled to stand and slowly made her way to the sunroom, where her dusty quilting frame sat. She stared at the fabrics, the needles, and the old writing desk beside it. Her hands were burning, but her heart was burning with a different kind of fire. The fire of shame and regret. She looked at her hands, the hands that used to create beauty and comfort, now only creating separation and pain. She realized that the chain of unforgiveness was heavy, and it was her own fault. When Sister Anna came back the next day, Clara was already sitting straighter, though her hands were still twisted. "Anna," Clara said quietly, her voice full of a new humility. "You were right. It's the pride. It's an old, terrible thing in my family's past, and I kept it alive by refusing to forgive and refusing to ask for forgiveness. The hands that can't write an apology can't be healed. The hands that can't hold my husband's hand are locked. Tell me what I must do now to use my hands for God, and not for my own pride." The biggest truth was out. The healing wasn't a magic trick. It was the final reward for an act of sincere humility. Clara had finally understood the great, important truth. The curse was broken not by powerful prayer alone, but by a simple act of obedience and being humble. Her task was clear. She had to use her painful, stiff hands to do the work of love, to apologize. The next hour was the hardest, most painful task Clara had faced in years. She slowly pushed herself out of her chair and struggled over to the small writing desk. Her fingers were locked, and every movement sent a sharp, stabbing pain up her arm. But her determination was stronger than the pain. She took a pen, it felt like holding a rock, and forced her twisted fingers to hold it. It was shaky and messy, but she began to write a letter to Eliza and Charlotte. She wrote 3 simple words that were harder to write than a whole book. "I was wrong." She confessed her pride. She asked for forgiveness for her coldness, and she told Eliza how much she missed her. Then, she left a small, handwritten note on the kitchen counter for George. It simply said, "My love, I am so sorry. Forgive me for the silence. I am ready to fix this." The spiritual wall that blocked the miracle was made of paper-thin pride, but it felt like a mountain until Clara decided to move. George found the note while Clara was resting. When he read those few shaky words, he was completely overcome. He walked into the sunroom, tears silently running down his face, and didn't say a word. He just knelt by Clara's chair, took her stiff, aching hands and kissed them. "Oh, Clara," he whispered. "I forgave you 20 years ago. Thank you for forgiving yourself." In that small, quiet moment, the old, cold spirit of unforgiveness that had lived in their home was instantly broken. The final piece fell into place when Eliza called back from Charlotte. Clara's hands were throbbing, but she held the phone steady. "Mom," Eliza sobbed, her voice full of relief. "I always wanted to hear you say that. Of course, I forgive you. I love you both so much. I'm leaving now. I'm driving home to Asheville." When Sister Anna returned that afternoon, the house was bright with a new, beautiful peace. George and Clara were sitting close together, talking softly. Anna smiled widely. She didn't ask what happened. She knew the wall was gone. Anna knelt one last time. Her prayer this time was full of powerful thanks and authority. She commanded the evil generational influence, the old curse that tried to stop her hands from working, to leave forever. Then, with simple faith, she told Clara, "Now pick up your hands and use them for joy." Clara did not hesitate. With a simple, easy movement, she lifted her arms and stretched her fingers wide. The burning, the stiffness, the locking, it was all gone. Her hands were completely healed. She felt a beautiful, wonderful freedom. She walked over to her dusty quilting frame and, with perfect ease, picked up a fine needle and thread. She threaded the needle on the very first try, something she hadn't done in 7 years. It was a sign of complete healing. The hands that had been stopped by a curse of jealousy were now free to create and love again. The curse was completely broken because Clara finally used her hands for the only work that truly matters, the work of humility and love. What darkness or wall is your own unforgiveness building in your life? What miracle are you blocking because you won't write the note, make the call, or ask the simple question? Please forgive me? If this beautiful true story of faith and forgiveness touched your heart, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss the next powerful story of new beginnings.